This chart shows why the Bitcoin bottom is close. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about why I think that the Bitcoin bottom is closer than we may have thought, and why I think a major rally on Bitcoin is coming soon. Today, we're going to be talking about a technical indicator that shows us that a rally is coming soon. We're going to talk about the miner revenue and how it massively spiked, and now it's crashed. What does that mean for the miners? And we're also going to talk about the crash that's going on in the stock market and exactly how that crash in stocks could be an early warning sign that a major rally is coming for Bitcoin soon. If you want to know where Bitcoin goes next, then you found the right video. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Today's video is brought to you by Incogni. One of the ways that things can go sideways for you on the internet is by letting just about anybody have personal information about you, like your phone number or your email address or your home address or personal identification numbers for credit and debit cards or any other amount of information. It'd be bad if they had that, right? Well, unfortunately, hundreds, if not thousands of companies around the world have all of that information. Yes, including even your home address because you typed it in somewhere. And so what we need to do is we need to get all of that information off of the internet. Now, the good thing is that if you request for a company to remove your information by law, they have to. But you don't even know where to start, and you don't even know who has what. Incogni will do all of that for you. The reason that you should go to the link in the description box down below and sign up for Incogni is so that this sister product of NordVPN can go and get all of that information scrubbed from the internet by asking these companies to delete it. They, by law, have to, and so they will, and you can very quickly, by getting an account with Incogni, get all of that information offline. You can even potentially get yourself put on a suppression list for these different data brokers, which means that they will never collect your information ever again. Sign up for Incogni and get your personal information deleted off of the internet by signing up with the link in the description box down below. Now, let's get started. This is the Crypto Jeb oscillator, which we built in partnership with the technical indicator company LUX ALGO. This is an indicator that was my own brainchild and was built by the developers over there. And what it does is it helps us to understand when Bitcoin is moving into a rally and when Bitcoin is moving into a correction. It helps us to understand when we are shifting from bearish strength to bullish strength. These lines down here represent the bullish and the bearish strength, and this right here represents the bearish momentum because it is red. As you can see on this chart, bearish momentum is shifting to the upside, and that's quite handy because this is today's chart. As you can see, for the last 5 days, we have seen an increase in the price action of Bitcoin, and that increase is predicted to continue by my very own indicator. Two reasons for this. Number one, Bitcoin needed a corrective movement after rallying almost 400% over the last 14 months. Of course, it needed to drop, so we dropped about 20%. We've been trading sideways for a month and a half. That is all very good, but number two, people were freaked out about what would happen to the Bitcoin market as a result of the halving. Well, the halving went off without a hitch on Friday, and since that occurred, Bitcoin has been rallying because the fear, uncertainty, and doubt over what may happen to Bitcoin as a result of the halving has subsided, and now we can see that Bitcoin has entered into a modest rally, bringing the altcoins with it, I might add. If you're interested in getting the Crypto Jeb oscillator, you can check luxalgo.com/Jeb. This gives us some confidence that the Bitcoin corrective movement that we've been witnessing over the last month may be coming to its ultimate conclusion, but before we can go into a big rally to $100,000 to $200,000 on Bitcoin, as we predict will likely happen, we first have to see if the bottom is in. In my analysis, the worst case prediction for Bitcoin right now would be a drop down to this uptrending level of support, which has been critical on the Bitcoin market for over a year and a half. And if we did drop down to that uptrending level of support and then bounced, it would be very easy for Bitcoin to put into motion an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which would send Bitcoin up towards $80,000 on the price target. That's if Bitcoin even drops down to that uptrending level of support in the first place. And there actually is a reason why we may see this drop, and it has to do with the Bitcoin mining revenue. You see, there's a website called ycharts.com, and they chart all kinds of data, but one of the things that they chart is the daily US dollar revenue of the Bitcoin miners. And as you can see, it has gone up and down dramatically over time. Well, the day of the halving, back on April the 20th, we saw a $107 million revenue in a single day, the largest revenue in the history of Bitcoin mining. Now, Bitcoin mining revenue is impacted by four things. Number one, by the value of the United States dollar. When the dollar inflates, that obviously is going to change the mining revenue. Number two, it is impacted by the inflation of Bitcoin. We just saw a halving, which means the amount of Bitcoin that is distributed to a miner every 10 minutes when a block is mined dropped from 6.25 Bitcoin down to 3.25 Bitcoin. That obviously is going to impact the revenue of the miners. The third component are the transaction fees. Whenever you send a transaction fee on Bitcoin, there's only so much space inside the block, which means there's a supply and demand equation there. Whoever pays the most for the transaction fee will be picked by the miner first, and they will be put into the very next block, which means that transaction fees on Bitcoin turn into an auction-based system that is determined through supply and demand economics based on how much space is in the block and how many transactions are waiting to be confirmed. The fourth component of miner revenue has to do with the value of Bitcoin at the time that the block was mined. All four of those came into a perfect balance of harmony on the 20th to lead to the biggest mining revenue day in history, but it also has come into a conflagration of bearishness for the miners right now. While, yes, April the 20th was the highest revenue day that the miners have ever seen in history, that was pushed along by a massive amount of backlog transactions and $146 transaction fees on Bitcoin, which has now dramatically dropped down to about $8, which is about the same as it was pre-halving. Because the block reward has now dropped from 6.25 Bitcoin down to 3.125 Bitcoin, and because transaction fees have dropped so dramatically, we saw a 50% reduction in miner revenue in the span of about 2 days. On April the 21st, which was Sunday, we saw a $50 million day. This is the worst the miners have performed in months, and if this trend continues, it could definitely be very bearish for Bitcoin. But the good news is it won't continue forever. Eventually, the miners will adjust to their new revenue, and it will continue full steam ahead. This hiccup is what people were scared about and why Bitcoin is going through a correction. And this hiccup is in the middle of hiccuping. And in the next few weeks, it's going to iron itself out, and Bitcoin is going to forget about the whole thing, and we're going to move right along with better supply and demand economics for Bitcoin because it's less inflationary. In other words, we've got another week or two of people even caring about this story, and after they stop caring about this story, Bitcoin will be free to move to the upside, which I think it will because of some things that are going on in the stock market. You see, the S&P 500 has been trying to break a multi-week-long corrective movement where we've seen a 6% drop on the SPY. The S&P 500 broke all-time high back on January the 16th and rallied all the way up to a new all-time high of 526 points, but that was about a week ago. We've had a major correction ever since Iran launched missiles into Israel as a response to the Israeli attack on Iranian embassy in Syria. Those tensions are now de-escalating, but the market has not, with the stock market coming into a drop, potentially looking at a low of 480, which would be another 17 points lower. If the S&P 500 drops down to 480, and if the miners stabilize, which they almost certainly will, and if Bitcoin is able to stay above this uptrending level of support at least, but at worst above $47,000, which I'm almost certain it will, then that means that all of these waves will likely die down in the next couple of weeks, and Bitcoin will be free and clear to continue to the upside, which is why this key technical indicator shows that the Bitcoin bottom is close. If you have enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and please, for the love of your own privacy, sign up for Incogni with the link in the description box down below, because Incogni is going to help you to stay private, which leads to you being safe and secure online. I don't want all your information out there. I don't want your phone number and your email address and your private home address, your credit card information, your debit card information, all of that out there. These data brokers collect as much information as they can on you, to the point where a lot of times they can tell where you have a medical issue before you even know, because they're tracking what kind of symptoms you're looking up. It's creepy. Get your information offline. Sign up for Incogni.com and stay safe and secure and private today. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh, I got a real good feeling.